Hello friends, Dr. Graves here, the Keto ND, doing our second installment of the Keto Diet for Non-Responders live stream. A little late today, but as always, this will be recorded. So if you are live, give me a holler here. And if you have any questions, we will be keeping this probably at about 15-20 minutes today and pick it up next week. So welcome. And just a side note, I lied a little bit last time. So 2 weeks ago was the first broadcast on this topic, and I said I would do something on Thanksgiving, or I said I might do something, and I did not. That whole thing was a bit of a mayhem. So actually it was great. So not in a bad way. It was just that prep and friends and family and people running around. It was actually a really good, fairly mellow time. So I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and I'll talk a little bit about that and sort of holiday eating today, and cover the topic of why the keto diet does not work for some people and what we might want to do about it to really get the benefits of that. So I'm going to just do a quick brief pause. I need to get some hydration and grab my water and show you something here. So stand by for 1 second. Okay, be walking through a few of the key starter products that I like for doing low carb ketogenic eating. So I'll cover that in a moment. And a brief summary and a couple of follow-up comments on some of the keto bars that I've been trying. So just some opinions as I've tried a few of these out. Okay, so, and let's see, as a summary, so for last time, for those of you who've watched this, I was led to do this series as a way to just open the conversation about the many people that I work with and who I see online on various social media outlets, mainly on Facebook groups, about the keto diet and the inevitable questions coming in about those who are struggling with seeing the success. So it's a really interesting diet, and I guess it's not that different from other diets, is that, you know, if we really looked at any given one diet and how the population responds to that, you're going to have a number of different responses to it. And it makes sense because there is a whole concept in the human body, and in humans, our physiology is very unique person to person. And so there's a whole book on this called Biochemical Individuality. Actually, it's Biochemical Individual something. Forget that. I'll pull that book and show you that as a reference and put it in the comments below. But it was actually written a long time ago by a doctor who he documents how diverse the human health situation is in terms of your individual needs. And this really plays into diagnosis of conditions, how you might eat, and the types of nutrients that any given individual needs. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that each person has a different need at a different time in their life. And so with the ketogenic diet, many people try a template that they've been given, and if we're not getting that quite right for your unique physiology, then you're not going to see the success. So the good news is that I think we can fine tune that without much difficulty if you take into consideration some steps. And so, as I summarized last time, there were, I think, about 3 main areas that I covered, and that was number 1, that the diet doesn't work when someone does not implement the diet correctly. And a lot of people are coming across the guidelines for the diet and just kind of winging it, and unfortunately it's not stacking up quite right. And so some of those mistakes include you're just simply not eating enough fat. Secondly, you're just eating too much protein, or thirdly, you are still getting too much carbohydrate. So it's a diet that you have to pay attention to, and you have to do a little diet diary or using an app that can kind of track your diet to really make sure you're hitting those targets. You don't have to do that for very long before you realize how to get yourself on track. Secondly was the recommendation that you check your blood for ketones. Okay, so that allows you to get some feedback in terms of, yes, I eat this way. I either make ketones or I'm not, and therefore I go back and let's see what I need to adjust. And then finally, the third area was getting hormones evaluated, because they are the gatekeepers of metabolism. And if you have a hormone imbalance, you could do the diet perfect and still not see success. And of course, besides having success from that particular diet, having hormone imbalance is going to cause you other health problems. And some of those imbalances that are most often seen include low thyroid function and metabolic syndrome, which is kind of a pre-diabetic state. So those would be the two areas and that I see most often keeping people from succeeding with the ketogenic diet. So I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. So just to kind of talk about that for a second, because I was going to do a little tour of the kitchen on Thanksgiving and I did not. So, but let me, and I'll post some of this in the comments below eventually, but that included some of the things that I did up. I don't think you need to go through the holidays completely off the rails off of a healthy eating diet program. I also don't think you need to live in the corner of the parties eating your carrots and almond butter. You know, I mean, I think you can enjoy a lot of the cuisine of the holidays if you understand the diet. And I guess number one key, though, of course, is to break free of sugar cravings and the desire to go to the dessert tray that is presented to you, because most of the time, obviously, those aren't going to be ketogenic and really not healthy for anyone. Now, can you partake in a little bit of that? Of course. But if you get keto adapted, you aren't going to really want to consume a lot of that before your body sends out some signals that, hey, you know, I tasted a couple of things and you know what, I'm good to go. So as far as Thanksgiving, just as kind of a wrap up or summary of that. So by my definition of holiday cuisine is quite keto friendly. Now, if you come from a tradition where everything was white and starchy, then there's some, I think, a recalibration that has to happen. But my favorite holiday foods are typically, you know, they're going to be the protein sources. They're going to have the fats in them. I never cared for potatoes a whole lot. And of course, bread. I love bread. And so what did I do for this Thanksgiving is that as I've done for the last few years, is that I've created variations of those lovely starchy entrees. And many of you have heard of course, the cauliflower mashed potatoes. And that's got to be the simplest and one of the best tasting foods, even apart from the fact that it almost simulates mashed potatoes better than anything. I think it's way better than mashed potatoes, frankly. And it's simply a head of cauliflower that's steamed and softened. You throw that into your food processor or blender, put a couple tablespoons of butter. I probably add a little bit of cream in there, and of course some salt. I blend that all up and serve, and it is delightful. It does not even, I don't even think it tastes like cauliflower, and most people who are served it enjoy it. Bread. So what I did this year is I made, basically my mom every Thanksgiving would make her rolls, and my mom was a bread maker. And so that was, you know, whole wheat, a blend of whole and white, regular wheat rolls. They were great, of course, fresh out of the oven, nothing better. What I've done though is I've perfected the keto bread recipes that I've been doing. And I simply made these rolls that were, they were fairly light. They were amazing. Warm them up. I made them the day before, and then I just warmed them up, sliced, put some butter on that, and great. They're just a little bit heavier and filling. So instead of eating 2-3 rolls, you know, when I was younger, I have one of those with some butter on it with the meal. So yeah, I think we had the traditional turkey with gravy. Made that obviously without flour. We had yams, and I'll talk about yams. Obviously, that's a higher sugar starch food. We had stuffing. We had green beans with bacon mixed in there, and onion. And we had, like I said, the cauliflower mashed potatoes. The only things that were outside of probably a truly ketogenic diet was the stuffing. That was a traditional bread stuffing, and I had a small portion. It tastes great. You could probably very easily, and I didn't do it this year, very easily make a keto friendly version simply by using say a keto bread recipe if you wanted the bread in there, or just using vegetables blended with some traditional seasoning. What else? So the yams, great. Somebody brought that, and oh wow, that was really good. I've always loved yams, and again, it's just about serving size. I definitely don't like yams with. I don't know who started putting marshmallows on yams, but that's really not my cup of tea. But instead, there was probably a light glaze of honey. There was some, I think, pecans on there, and some zest from orange peel, and butter and all that, and so a small serving of that. And so, you know, my macros, I'm sure, were just a little bit higher on the carb count. I had a little bit of pumpkin pie. I had a little bit of apple pie, which I made with my daughter, and we actually used regular wheat crust. Years past, I have made ketogenic crusts, and I just wanted to go traditional. And honestly, it's like I like the apples inside, and obviously apple fillings, not ketogenic either. I used less sugar, very, very thin crust. It came out really beautifully. And by the time I eat all that other food, I'm only having a little slice of some of those desserts. And it was awesome. So let's see. Hopefully you can just make those good choices and avoid the high starch and high grains and high sugar foods during the holidays. Let me follow up just briefly here on the bars. So I've been doing these reviews on these keto bars, and I want to kind of just do, like, here we are a few weeks and a month now of having sampled this. So the ketogenic bar from Kiss My Keto comes in 3 different flavors. I reviewed those a while back, and then more recently I did the Perfect Keto brand bars, the almond butter brownie. Both of them I reviewed pretty favorably right out of the box in first taste, and I still think they're fine. I love the ingredients list on this guy. What I don't care for, though, is that as I've eaten these, every time I had one, I liked it less and less, and that's just a personal thing. I think the texture and the taste is just a little lacking, a little thin. And for the price, I would just as soon eat some nuts and, you know, some making maybe my own fat bomb, or I guess where I'm going with this is someday I'm going to make my own keto bar and get it out there, at least for myself. So anyway, longer term review is I'd say I probably wouldn't buy these again just because of the cost, for how I don't really care for them. But they're certainly, if you like it, by all means, they're very, very good on the label. These, however, I would go to again, and we'll continue to get these. The flavor, the taste, the texture, I think is superior. They do have the milk protein, and I'm hoping they come out with the dairy-free version. But for now, the Kiss My Keto product, I'm still going to give that thumbs up for myself. And so let me run down just real briefly on so kind of segue from getting the diet right to saying, when you start on the ketogenic diet, I think there's some core supports that you should do. I honestly don't know why you wouldn't. To just jump in headlong into the diet and expect your body to know how to get into ketosis properly and quickly is asking a lot. And you're going to have, a lot of planning to do, and awareness about your diet, and, you know, measuring ketones. And the other big thing is many people go through this carb withdrawal and the ketogenic flu, which for a week or two could be very, very disruptive to your life and be very difficult to stick with it. And so before you even embark on the diet, I recommend that you get some core products to support what you're going to do. And that includes MCT of its variations. I'm a fan of this one. This is regular MCT, which is a blend of the C10, C8 medium chain triglycerides. And then there's the purified C8, which is a little more potent and just a little more expensive, but this is my go-to. If you want to feel the effects of MCT and ketones, Get some of this in your tea and the coffee in the morning and blend that up. I use a little clarified butter or butter itself in my tea or coffee. It's otherwise known as bulletproof coffee. And this particular brand, for this 32 ouncer, I think they give the best deal on this from Kiss My Keto for 32 ounces. So I think I have links to this on my other talks, and I'll put them below. So that's my go-to. They also make MCT powder, and that's very convenient when you don't have a blender around as a non-dairy creamer. You can put it in a shake, you can add it to your tea and just stir it in. You can put it in the coffee as well. So another good option to have. And then finally, the ketones themselves, exogenous ketones. I think to start out, you should definitely get these ketone products from various companies. Kiss My Keto makes, again, I think their price point is great and the flavor is good. Designs for Health makes a product called Keto Nootropic. If you have blood sugar problems already, you know, you sort of had that elevated blood glucose frequently and hearing from your doctor, or even pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetes. There is another ingredient in the Keto Nootropic product. Let me grab that. I'll show you that. It's got what's called American ginseng. American ginseng is from North America instead of China. And it's got a slightly different attribute than ginseng from Asia. So the American ginseng is, one, it's more local to North America, but it has blood sugar effects that are a little bit different than Korean ginseng, for instance. And it's an what we call an adrenal adaptogen, which means it helps the body tolerate stress. And a big part of that is blood sugar maintenance and improving blood sugar. So they put a little bit in this product, this Keto Nootropic. By the way, keto, obviously, it's got the exogenous ketones. Nootropic refers to having affinity for the brain. And as we know, getting your blood sugar corrected and stable, it greatly improves the brain. Many people with frequent brain fog have that problem. So